The first 10 seconds matter, so let's hit it hard. When the lights went dark, the fuel was gone, and supply chains snapped like dry twigs. One humble, almost forgotten kitchen hack kept families alive. No fancy tech, no noise, no drama, just pure wartime grit. This is the survival tool that powered kitchens in World War II, when power, fuel, and certainty all disappeared. Let's get straight to the good stuff. The hidden hero of the home front. Across Britain, Europe and beyond during World War II, people learned fast that every crumb mattered. Food was rationed, fuel was rationed, and yet families still had to cook. That's where the quiet hero stepped in, the haybox cooker, also called the fireless cooker. Old school, low-key genius. The idea was simple, but the impact was massive. You would heat your pot just long enough to bring the food to a boil. Then, instead of burning more coal, wood or gas, the pot went into an insulated box packed with hay, wool or whatever soft insulation you had. The heat stayed trapped. The food kept cooking, slowly, silently. Fuel saved, meals still on the table. During World War II, this wasn't a quirky side project. It was mainstream wartime survival strategy. Governments even encouraged it because it worked. How it worked when fuel ran dry. Think of heat like money in wartime. You spend a little upfront, then you protect it so none leaks out. The haybox made that happen. The insulation hugged the pot. The heat circled back in on itself. No flames, no extra fire, no wasted energy. And hours later, the stew, soup, grain or beans were done. Tender, safe, ready. Families used it daily. Soups, root vegetables, oats, tough cuts of meat that needed time to soften. Anything that benefited from slow cooking became haybox gold. And here's the kicker. People could leave it unattended without fear of fire. That mattered when every resource was fragile. This wasn't hype, it was real. It saved fuel in a time where fuel meant life. Why it was a lifesaver. World War II broke normal supply chains. Ships were sunk, roads were bombed, factories ran on fumes. Food and fuel shortages weren't dramatic headlines. They were breakfast conversations. Ration books controlled what you could buy. Sometimes, even if you had money, shelves were still empty. So the haybox did three powerful things. First, it stretched fuel. That meant fewer trips to collect wood, less coal burned, less gas used. A little saved went a long way. Second, it protected nutrition. Slow cooking kept tough foods usable. That's a big deal when meat was rare and beans were common. You needed everything your food could give. Third, it created stability. Dinner still happened. Families sat down together. In chaos, that tiny bit of normal was priceless. And let's be real. This wasn't glamorous. This wasn't luxury. This was survival with swagger. Quiet confidence, smart resilience. The science that makes it work. Heat loves to escape. The haybox simply refused to let it go. Insulation trapped the heat waves bouncing off the pot. Air pockets inside the hay slowed heat loss. The pot stayed hot for hours. Food kept cooking below boiling temperatures. That's gentle cooking at its finest. This method existed before World War II, but wartime pressure turned it from an interesting idea into an everyday kitchen weapon. When the stakes rose, the haybox delivered. The spirit behind the tool. Here's what I love most about this story. It's not just about an object, it's about mindset. People refused to give up. They didn't sit back and complain about shortages. They got creative, they hacked their world, they made less do more. That's strength. That's innovation born from necessity. Women running households, grandparents remembering older methods, kids learning that waste was not an option, communities sharing tips so nobody fell behind. The haybox wasn't flashy, but it symbolized resilience, teamwork, and stubborn hope. What we can learn today? Well, fast forward to now. Power outages still happen, supply chains still wobble, and fuel prices still climb. And honestly, sometimes the modern world feels a lot more fragile than we want to admit. The haybox reminds us of something powerful. Simple methods can still matter. Old wisdom isn't obsolete. It's a backup plan, hiding in plain sight. It teaches patience. It teaches resourcefulness. It teaches respect for every unit of energy. And let's be honest, slow-cooked food still tastes amazing. Soft beans, deep stews, rich flavour, zero rush. But more than that, the haybox speaks to mindset. Prepared, calm, capable, not panicking when systems crack, just adapting. That's the calm strength people carried through World War II. And that's the same strength that carries people through tough times today. The untold stories behind the steam. Across kitchen tables in World War II, steam in pots lifted morale. A simple meal said, "We're still here." It said, "We endure." That matters. Kids grew up watching parents turn scarcity into something warm and edible. They learned gratitude. They learned creativity. They learned discipline. Those lessons lasted longer than the war itself. And now, here we are, looking back, pulling wisdom forward. Past meets present, old meets new, history shaking hands with today. Final thoughts for the before modern times family. I want you to feel this one, not just hear it. A box of hay, a pot, a little heat, a lot of patience. That's all it took to feed families when everything else failed during World War II. No apps, no smart devices, just raw human ingenuity. And that's why we tell these stories here. Because hidden inside the past are tools, ideas, and mindsets that still matter. They remind us that when pressure rises, humans rise higher. If you found value in this, if it sparked curiosity, if it made you see history in a sharper, richer way, then do me a favor. Hit subscribe. Share this with someone who loves real stories from before modern times. Let's grow a community built on learning, resilience, and respect for the wisdom that came before us. More forgotten tools, more powerful stories, more lessons worth keeping. See you in the next one.